Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always, told out of Voice of Radio. So today, we need to have a look at Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, how they're going to look in English, and how that compares to how they're going to look, well, how they already look, over in Japan. Now, you see, when we talked about V-Star Universe against Crown Zenith, that was a really interesting comparison. Because essentially, the special fancy cards were the same, but V-Star Universe was very much a reprint set, whereas Crown Zenith was kind of a catch-up set, giving us all of those cards that Japan have had and we haven't. Well, the good news is, for Scarlet and Violet, things are going to be a little bit closer. That's a good thing, but it does not mean that we're actually going to see exactly the same sets between both territories, and if that's what you're thinking, you might be slightly disappointed, but honestly you shouldn't be, because ours is basically Japan's plus a bit. You see, if we go to Pokemon.com and have a look, we are told that Scarlet and Violet includes over 190 cards. Now, usually, we can explain a big difference between cards because our secret rares are counted differently to Japan's secret rares. So if we use Silver Tempest as an example, just because that's like the most recent main set we've had, secret rares are cards where the set number is above the final number, and you will notice that Silver Tempest goes up to 195, so your first secret rare is 196, which basically only gives you gold cards and rainbow rares. Which is weird, because in Japan, it also includes special art Pokemon cards, full art Pokemon cards, and full art supporter cards. All those are secret rares over in Japan, but they're not secret rares over here. I mean, to put a number on it, that gives us 26 cards that are secret rares in Japan that aren't secret rares over here, and when we quote the set size, we quote the set size without secret rares, so sure, our set should seem bigger than Japan, but there's a bunch of cards that we don't count as secret rares that Japan do, which would explain the difference in set size. However, we know that's not the case here. Now, we haven't seen many Scarlet and Violet cards. We just haven't. Not English cards. We've seen all of them in Japan, obviously, but we've not seen that many English Scarlet and Violet cards. But we've seen enough, like we've seen Professor Sada and Professor Turo, that we know are 189 and 190 out of 198. And incidentally, they won't be the last of the trainer cards. There are a couple of others. Rare Candy, we know they go in alphabetical order, so we know for a fact that Rare Candy will be after them, etc. And that tells us pretty conclusively that essentially now we're counting like Japan does. Like, there's no way we can include any of these cards, your full art supporters or any of that. They're all going to be actual secret rares. So now we are going to be counting everything full art and above as secret rares, just like Japan does. And that's a very big deal. And the reason that's a big deal is, as I told you, we have had it confirmed that we are having 190 cards. Well, a little bit more than, and that's in our main set, because again, it's always quoted without secret rares. But if we have a look over in Japan, Scarlet EX has 78 cards, and Violet EX has 78 cards, and what that means is that that's just under 160, that's 156 cards, which means there are a whole bunch of cards that apparently aren't in Japan's Scarlet and Violet set that are going to be in our Scarlet and Violet set. Now, at this stage, I need to tell you that I can work some of them out for certain that are going to be in, and I can work some of them out for certain that aren't going to be in, and after that, I'm afraid you're kind of on your own, but I can give you a fairly nice insight. So we can take a look, for instance, at those starter decks. See, Fuecoco, Quaxley, and Sprigatito starter decks. We can take a look at them and we can go, some of these are definitely going to be in the set for us. and some of them are definitely not going to be in the set for us. So if we look at the booster pack artwork for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, one of the booster pack artwork features the first partner Pokemon, Fuecoco, Sprigatito, and Quaxly. And we know at this stage, right, we've been doing this for years and years, we know that Pokemon are not putting Pokemon on booster packs that aren't in the set. That would be weird, that would be confusing, that would be bad advertising. We know at this stage with pretty good certainty that there are going to be Fuecoco, Sprigatito, and Quaxly in the set. We know that's going to happen. Here's the thing, though. They're not in Pokemon Scarlet EX and Pokemon Violet EX. Those cards don't exist in Pokemon Scarlet EX or Pokemon Violet EX. No Sprigatito, no Fuecoco, no Quaxly, no evolutions, none of that, ladies and gentlemen. None of them are in there. And weirdly enough, we have already had them. So if we look at the Quaxly collection, for instance, that is the Fuecoco from the starter deck in Japan and the Sprigatito from the starter deck over in Japan. If we look at the Fuecoco collection, we got the Sprigatito from the starter deck in Japan and the Quaxly from the starter deck in Japan. And if we take a closer look at them, because we have been given scans, we can actually see it is number 13 out of 198 is Sprigatito, and then Quaxly is 52 out of 198, and Fuecoco is 36 out of 198. So just to be clear, it's 198 plus secret rares. So we know that these cards from the starter deck are in the set, because we've literally seen holo versions of them in the Paldea collections that are definitely the ones from Scarlet and Violet. So the first reaction here is to go, well, alright then, that's nice and easy. Those starter decks are just going to be put into our Scarlet and Violet set. Except they're not. Because if we look at, for instance, the Quaxly deck, it comes with Mimikyu EX. And we know that Mimikyu EX is not in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, the English version, because we know it's in its own EX box. We know that for a fact. We've seen it. It's on the screen right now. We know this to be true. So what about the Ampharos? Or what about the Lucario from the other decks? Is there any chance they're going to be in our set? And the answer basically is no. There is no chance they're going to be in our set. Because we have been told categorically there are 12 EXs in our set, including 2 Terrestrial EXs. And we know that each of Scarlet EX and Violet EX comes with 6 EXs. So I suppose there is a very small chance that for some weird reason no one can really understand, they would take a couple of the EXs that should be in the set out to throw these promos in. That is technically possible, I suppose. But that makes absolutely no sense, and there's like no way they're going to do that, just to be clear. We know the terrestrial Pokemon are Arcanine and Gyarados because they're the ones that were in the Japanese set. We know that the other 10 are going to be just the regular EXs that were in Scarlet EX and Violet EX. So basically, we know for a fact that we are getting the first part of the Pokemon, and presumably their evolutions as well, from the starter deck, but we're not getting the EXs from the starter deck. But then there's a bunch of trainer cards. There are a bunch of really interesting, important trainer cards that are coming out in Japan, Scarlet and Violet, that we kind of need. Like something like Nest Ball is in both the starter decks and the set proper, so there's nothing controversial here about the fact that we're going to be getting Nest Ball. We have to be getting Nest Ball. But there are a bunch of other cards which we very much do need to be getting, which is a lot less certain. Take something like Youngster. Youngster's a good example here. There are some others, but I think Youngster shows it quite nicely. Youngster is a shuffle draw 5. It's basically exactly the same as Shauna, but with a different name. Well, that could be an important card. That could be a card that people want to play. And we know that Pokemon want to try and bring us and Japan kind of more in sync in terms of the cards in our set, you know, and the formats we're playing in and all of that. So we need these kind of cards, frankly, ladies and gentlemen. We need them. And I suppose we could get them a bit later on, But this does really seem like the kind of thing that we do kind of need sooner rather than later. Now, when it comes to promos, I feel a bit more bullish that we're just not getting them. Like, if we take the initial promo pack, the first promo pack that Japan went and revealed, that is the Cyclers REX promo pack, we already know where 4 of those cards are coming from. The 3-pack blisters feature Arcanine and Dondozo. They are from the Cyclers REX promo pack. We know that for a fact. Similarly, if we look at the 1-pack blisters as an example, we can see that we've got a Sparfa and Spidops that, again, they are from the promo pack, so that makes perfect sense. And we know, like I've said, that there's not space for another Pokemon EX. So we can say with a pretty high degree of certainty that Cyclers REX isn't going to be in there. So we can feel pretty good about the fact that the Cyclers REX promo pack as a whole isn't being included. And obviously, more recently, we saw the Cloth EX promo pack, but that's going to be promos down the line. That's way too recent for us to be getting that. So I wouldn't expect for a second for that promo pack to be included. So it's not exactly the same as it is over in Japan. We know that we are getting some of those cards from the starter decks. We know that we're not getting the extra EXs. We know that although we are getting some of Japan's promos, they are being in extra products as well. But what I'm saying here is hold your horses a little bit. Because we know our set is not exactly the same as Japan's, which means that there could be some surprise cards taken out, and there could be some surprise cards being included. We've all been caught unawares in the past. I'm looking at you, Don fan, that should have been in Lost Origin, but ended up being in Silver Tempest, which was 3 months late. And okay, fine, it turned out not to be that good anyway, but that's not the point. I wanted that Don fan and the amazing artwork on the Fampi. Let's not forget the Fampi. And I had to wait 3 months longer than I should have done. So, yes, they're going to be very similar, and yes, they are going to be more similar than V-Star Universe and Crown Zenith were, but they're not going to be the same. Our set is going to be bigger. It is going to include extra cards, and something like the Quaquavel from the starter deck is actually like a legit good card, which incidentally we also know is included because we've had confirmation that that is going to be a pre-release promo. We know that's going to be one of the pre-release promos, which is extremely cool. So there's more confirmation. I mean, we didn't need any more confirmation, but that's more confirmation if anyone needed that that card is definitely going to be in the set. But I've heard a few people say that the sets are going to be the same. They're not going to be the same. They are going to be pretty similar, but let's not assume, unless a card has been actually confirmed or is one of the EXs and Scarlet and Violet, I really, really do believe they are going to be the same. Just hold your horses a little bit. There will be some changes. If nothing else, we're getting a bunch of extra cards. For now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to know what you think about this. I want to know how excited you are. I want to know anything you want to tell me. So let me know in the comment section. Go nuts. Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk Pokemon and card games and Pokemon card games, all kinds of fun things. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, join a Discord and chat with us, and get shout-outs on the channel, like the lovely It's a Coaster, who's one of the most active players over on our Discord and is a very lovely person. So thank you very much for the support and for being a very lovely person. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.